The last 2 years have been very important for BMW. In 2022, BMW M celebrated its 50th anniversary. And in 2023, BMW South Africa is celebrating their 50th anniversary. And part of those celebrations was launching this, the all-new BMW M2. And as you know, the M in BMW M stands for motorsport, and that is why we are here today at Swartkorps Racetrack to see how we can really flex this car's muscles. Before we go anywhere though, we can't start driving without addressing the blue elephant in the room. And that is, of course, the looks of this vehicle. If there's a car that broke the internet last year, it was this car. And honestly, I was part of the haters in the beginning, but looking at this car in the flesh, I'm not going to say it's good looking, but I will say it's striking. If you're going to buy one of these cars, you'll definitely get the attention you want. Whether that's for the right reason or the wrong reason, who knows? We do have a traditional BMW grille. Gone are the fangs from the M3 and M4. But we also do have a very squared off bumper up front, and the proportions look kind of strange on paper, but in person, this car screams, "Look at me." And that carries on the side profile of the vehicle, as this car actually looks like a wide body M car. And that of course then leads us to the rear of the car, which is very bulbous and again screams, "Look at me." Of course, with 4 exhaust pipes, you automatically know that it's an M car. But overall, I must say, I kind of like it.
The interior of the new BMW M2 is a smart place to be. Large, wide digital screens are used for infotainment and driver display, as well as a plethora of buttons on the center console, allowing the driver to mirror their smartphone with ease, as well as customize the various modes of the vehicle through the M setup menu. Our test unit kept the standard seats, which feature BMW M's hues, but there are more hardcore seats available for track day lovers.
So, G87 M2, biggest talking point with this car is that it uses the same engine that you'd find in the M3 and M4, the current G series M3 M4, but it's been detuned, so it produces 338 kilowatts and 550 Newton meters. The previous car produced 302 kilowatts and 550 Newton meters, and that was mated to a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, whereas this is mated to an 8-speed automatic, but you can also get a manual gearbox. So the previous generation M2 was a little bit leery, especially the M2 competition. It almost felt like you were teetering between the chassis and the power that the car produced. With this car, now with the automatic gearbox, it feels a bit more compliant. It is obviously a bit longer than the outgoing car, and they've also widened the track in the front and in the rear. So automatically you can feel that the car sits better. And as a result, they can utilize the power that this car has a bit more. So I'm going to go for it now, and then we can talk, oh my word, a bit more about how this car reacts. The biggest takeaway is that they didn't need to increase the power too much. They just needed to sort out the chassis. But now that they've sorted out the chassis, this car is stupid fast. Stupid fast. There's elements where it feels a bit faster than an M4 competition, which is kind of scary actually, because this is the baby brother. But my goodness, it's rapid. And you don't miss the double clutch gearbox when you're driving this car fast like this. This 8-speed is quick enough. In fact, I've actually got the vehicle in the intermediate setting, and I actually think that's better for me, because when you've got it in the most hardcore setting, you can feel that shove. It wants to actually shove you too much. It's a bit of a simulated shove. Whereas now, it feels balanced in this middle ground setting. The front end tucks in beautifully. I mean, even though we don't have old school mechanical power steering, and we've got electronic power steering, I still have very good feedback. and I can place the vehicle exactly where I want it. And the chassis just feels so balanced. But what's quite interesting is, unlike the previous M2 competition, this vehicle now has variable traction control. So I've currently got it set to level 3, which literally means I've got 30% traction. And if I put it onto level 1, or actually go off, I can do a slight demonstration as to how this vehicle should react. So I'm going to back it in. Ooh, I've got lots of grip there. Let's try this corner. You have to be a little bit more aggressive. There we go. There we go. My goodness, this new M2 is extremely rapid on track. So, is it still an M car? Very much so. From a performance perspective, yes. From a braking perspective, yes. From a handling perspective, yes indeed. But at the same time, things have changed in the world of cars, and this car will now cost you R1.5 million. So for me, yes, this car is heavy when it comes to the price tag. But one thing is for sure, it's much faster than what you'd think it is. And after spending time with it on track and on the road, I can say it's a very fitting way for BMW M to celebrate its 50th anniversary.
You're watching Ignition GT. Welcome back. To say that I was blown away by the BMW M2 would be putting it mildly. But truth be told, I am a bit of a BMW fanboy, so I'm keen to know if Jordan and Thomas were equally impressed. Guys, this car for me, I personally think BMW's lying. It's not 338 kilowatts. It has to be more. You guys have driven the car on road and at the launch. Tell me what your impressions were of this vehicle. George, we'll start with you.
So, we all saw it at the global launch at M-Fest last year. I immediately liked how it looked. I know it was a little bit controversial, but I thought it's striking, it's bold, and it's exactly what an M car should look like. And when I drove it, I fell in love with the car, to be frank. I was a little nervous building up to it, because obviously you've got the M3 and M4 motor and rear axle in the car. And we've all driven the rear-wheel drive M3, and that car is a bit of a Larry beast.
Yeah.
And so going into a smaller package, I was a bit concerned that this thing would be just wild.
Yeah.
Just wild. And you know what, I think BMW balanced it perfectly. It is, pinpoint accurate in the corners. It is brutal coming out of the corners once you put your foot down, and makes a good noise. It's a stunning interior, and I think the whole car is just it's really, really well thought out.
I must say, I do agree with you. There's something about how settled the chassis of that vehicle feels. To me, the moment they started to turbocharge M cars, they got a bit leery. But for the first time, this is a turbocharged M that didn't feel like it wants to kill you, depending on what road you are. But Tom, I'm going to speak forever about this, so please jump in.
Yeah, my first impressions were, compared to the outgoing M2, it's a lot more grown up. It's it's got, a longer wheelbase. It feels a lot more buttoned down. I don't know how I feel about that. I think the old M2 and the old 1M, those were very lively, playful cars, and I feel like that edge is no longer there. And you've really got to up the limits in order to sort of get the car to that kind of level of involvement that its predecessors were capable of doing. Yeah. But it's insanely fast. I mean, on a straight line, as you said, as soon as you plant the throttle, it's gone. It's an interesting car. I'm glad that they made it. Is it as nice as its predecessors? I don't know. I think it's maybe a little bit too grown up. I think it needs that fun, feisty edge to it, which is, what the M2 always had.
That's true. And I mean, let's not forget about the competition now, because at the same time, if we look at, the M2's always been a weird one to peg in terms of what it competes with, but naturally, you're going to look at Audi RS3, you're going to look at A45S. If someone said to you right now, you've got 1.5 bar cap, what are you going to go for? Are you going A45S? Are you going RS3? Are you going M2? Where do you go?
It's funny you mentioned that. I was just racing in Cannonball Run in the new A45S.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, these are two completely different cars.
Yeah.
You know, this has got this playful rear-wheel drive dynamic. The A45S, it's all-wheel drive firstly.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more of it's a playful hatch. It feels a little bit taller, a little bit heavier, but it's lightning. And you've got space at the back for passengers, and you've got the ability to use a hatch for every day.
Yeah.
Whereas this M2, it's firm, you know, it's aggressive. Everywhere you're going, brings a lot of attention in. It's just
A lot of
monster
attention.
a car.
A lot.
A lot of attention.
A lot of attention.
Yeah.
I noticed that, you know, like everybody's just checking it out.
Yeah.
What is that, you know?
It's like a big blue Lego piece.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, I think the Mercedes and the Audi are probably better all-rounders if it's going to be a primary car and it's, you know, your main mode of transport. Whereas the BMW, I think, is going to appeal to guys who want to go to track days, want to do Gymkhana days, want to do a little bit more of that, you know, entry-level motorsport stuff.